You only get one shot at those early weeks with your new puppy. And with the right training plan, you can train your puppy in a way that's fun, build trust, and actually works. And I want to show you the exact game plan that works. This isn't theory. It's the exact game plan more than 10,000 of my students in 65 countries have used to raise calmer, happier, easier to train puppies, and you can too. Now, these students stopped Googling their way through training, they stopped sifting through confusing and conflicting advice in Facebook groups, and they finally got the clarity and the step-by-step guidance that makes puppy training simple. And the best part, they started seeing real changes in just a couple of weeks. Because here's the truth. Puppy problems, they don't fix themselves. Left alone, the biting and the barking and the crying and the sleepless nights, they just don't magically disappear. They get worse and they get harder to fix. When you have a clear, proven plan, everything changes. Michelle here, your certified trainer with How to Train a Dream Dog. Now, the challenges that you're facing, like the ones I mentioned, the biting, the crate crying, the zoomies, the pulling on the leash, the barking, none of that means that your puppy is stubborn or bad. It means they don't know what to do yet. I can't tell you how many times a student has said, I thought my puppy was ignoring me, but in reality, they were just overtired or overstimulated. Or the one student who thought their puppy was mad at them because they were having accidents in the house and not peeing out of spite. But once we adjusted the schedule to match the puppy's natural rhythms, the accident stopped. Half the battle of training is learning to read your puppy, and that's where this game plan starts. But I want to let you in on a little secret. Puppy training isn't what it used to be. Old school advice like the be the alpha, dominate your dog, or using pain and intimidation doesn't just fail to work. Science has showed that those methods actually damage your bond, increase fear, and can even lead to aggression. You don't want a dog that listens out of fear. You want a dog that trusts you. A dog who's excited to engage with you and eager to learn. We do not hit or pop or zap or pin or choke or bite or startle or intimidate our dogs to get them to stop doing something we don't like. Yep. Those methods, unfortunately, are still being taught by many trainers out there because they have not adopted the latest science-backed positive training methods. Training doesn't have to be boring or feel like a chore either. When we fold in games like our 4 on the floor, we teach pups skills like how to approach without jumping and how to meet or greet without scratching someone. Or games like the bump it instead of bite it. We then give our dogs skills that are the opposite of what their natural instincts are. This means they have better behaviors that are more compatible with living in your human world. And that's what positive game-based training creates. I hear stories like this all the time from students. Years ago, I had a dog, and back then I was told to pop on the leash to stop the pulling. But the more I corrected him, the more he wanted to get away from me. With my new dog, I learned Michelle's go zone and close to me games, and now my dog loves staying at my side. I could never go back to those old methods. That's the power of fear-free training. Your dog actually wants to learn with you. All right, so here's how we create fast, lasting results. Step 1. Get the schedule right. A well-structured schedule is the foundation for everything. You learned that in this lesson, in this video, the puppy schedule that stops bad behavior. Puppies need the right amount of sleep and a balanced wake window to prevent overtired, bitey, barky, zoomy behavior. Once you know your puppy's ideal rhythm, you're gonna see calmer, easier to train behavior almost overnight. Step 2, teach skills in the right order. Now, this means we start with foundation skills and games, aimed at creating a common language between you and your dog, which helps them understand how to pay better attention to you. And it starts to teach them that you are somebody to listen to all the time, and you can be trusted. So for example, in the Focus and Attention course in our online puppy training program, we cover a game called Puppy Pivots. Now, naturally, you're gonna wanna say something like, leave it, when your pup is going towards something they shouldn't. Your pup doesn't know that leave it means turn away from that thing, and leave it can take time to master, especially if the distraction is really exciting to your dog. Instead, we introduce a fun sound that your dog can recognize quickly as something to tune into and come running to. We use this sound for now, while working on the leave it cue outside of the time that we need to use it. Now, if you repeat leave it without consistent results, you can muddy up the cue and it won't ever have the meaning you hoped for. The same goes for calling come. If you keep calling come and get hit or miss results, you're poisoning the cue come. In this case of puppy pivots, a simple sound can be more recognizable than a verbal cue that implies action needs to be taken. I bet you can picture a ton of uses for the puppy pivot game. Your pup is about to grab a personal item. You need them to turn away. Your pup is about to eat something off the ground they shouldn't, like a rock. You need your pup to come closer to you so you can put the leash and collar on. Since your pup doesn't know cues like leave it, drop it, or come just yet, at least not reliably anyway, this is going to be the perfect foundation game to play and use in so many different situations. Speaking of leashes and collars, other games we work on progressively are Close to Me and Go Zone. These games are aimed at teaching your puppy where to be at your side while on a leash. This eventually translates to being able to go for walks with your pup without all the pulling. We simply can't just leash up a puppy and take them out on a neighborhood walk just yet, because they don't have the skills to stay at your side or leave items alone, or even feel comfortable with scary things like big trucks and buses. Neighborhood walks are like the final exam after you've mastered all the skills needed for a good walk. Imagine another skill you want to teach your pup. Let's say it's traveling in a car without barking, pacing, or panicking. Now, when a student asks where they should start, they often say something like, give the dog a treat while driving down the road. This does sound good, but most often this is actually the last step in the sequence. So for many dogs, riding in the car is kind of scary. They get car sick, they pace frantically, they bark, they're stressed. So giving a dog treats when they're already stressed means no learning is actually taking hold. So we need to break this down into the smallest step possible for your dog and begin there. Now you know what the finished skill or the behavior should look like. Your dog doesn't. I want you to keep that in mind for all skills and behaviors you want your dog to know and perform. So in this case, the smallest step might be walking out of the house. Your dog sees the vehicle from a distance, they get a tasty treat, and everybody heads back inside. You repeat this a few times. The next session might be getting closer to the vehicle, but not getting in. The goal with training progressively is to leave your puppy wanting more, not overwhelm them so they create a negative association or get confused. Most skills are broken down this way. Skills are made up of tiny steps, and eventually they're all paired together to create the final cue or behavior. I think the most frustrating thing for new puppy owners is that they can see this little bundle of fluff running, playing, and barking, but yet they can't do something simple like stop jumping when the food bowl comes out, or when guests come over, or why can't they stop biting when you say no bite, even after you've redirected them 100 times. And then I get asked, Michelle, what's the one thing I need to do to stop this behavior? Whatever it is, you fill in the blank. Biting, barking, jumping. And I have to remind them that there isn't just one thing. There are several things at play here. And it's not that your dog is being stubborn. Could you imagine me speaking to you in a foreign language, one you don't know, and me asking you to do something on repeat? Or stop doing something, and then all of a sudden I get upset with you because you're not listening to me. It's not that you're stubborn or that you're not listening to me. You don't understand me. And that's how your dog feels. They aren't stubborn. They're either confused or overwhelmed. They haven't been taught what you want them to do. They haven't been rewarded enough for doing the right behaviors yet. And often people say, the dog knew what to do before, but now they're not doing it. They don't respond well when they're overwhelmed or overstimulated, or in an uncomfortable situation. And maybe they've never even practiced in that location before. To transform your puppy, you have to know what you want them to do and slowly work on teaching them how to do it. This takes time. It can't be rushed. We have to train at our puppy's pace, not our human pace. We have to set aside the time to work on the skills outside of the time you need to use them. I like to say that we're setting up dress rehearsals for the big show. Oh wait, do you know how to meet all your dog's needs in order to solve unwanted behaviors? This leads me to step number 3 in our game plan. Meet their needs. Now, when students come to me with unwanted behaviors, we always start with 2 things: the puppy's schedule and the bigger picture of what's happening during those wake windows. The activities during those wake windows tell us a lot. Now, sometimes the puppy is missing something they need, and other times They're getting too much of something that's overwhelming them. Take this for example. Puppies chewing on the furniture, maybe gnawing on a table leg. First, we look at the puppy's age and the stage of development. So if the puppy is 12 weeks old, there's a good chance teething's the culprit. Now this means they need a safe, appropriate outlet for chewing that won't destroy your furniture. A frozen-filled Kong or West Paw Topo can give them a safe outlet and save your table legs. But that's only part of the picture. I also want you to know when the chewing happens. So if it's at the start of a wake window, the puppy likely has a lot of pent-up energy to burn. On the other hand, if it's happening towards the end of a wake window, the puppy may be tired, overstimulated, in need of a nap rather than more play. This same approach applies to so many frustrating behaviors. Here's another one: puppy digging at the carpet. Now the first instinct for many owners is to say, how do I correct this? How do I make them stop? But here's the thing, digging is a natural species typical behavior. Telling a dog to never dig again is like telling a child they are never allowed to color again after they accidentally colored on the walls. Instead, we find appropriate outlets for those natural behaviors. So for the child, that might be coloring in a coloring book. And for the dog, it might be a designated digging area outside or an interactive digging toy like the iDig. Now, when you give your puppy a safe outlet, the destructive version of the behavior starts to fade. So if your puppy's needs are consistently ignored, or if they don't have outlets for natural behaviors like digging, shredding, foraging, sniffing, licking, chewing, frustration builds. That leads to a puppy who's acting out and an owner who's stressed and feeling defeated. So by looking at that bigger picture and meeting those needs, we can replace frustration with success, and that's when real progress happens. This leads me to number 4, the training plan. So with just a few changes to your puppy's daily routine, to how you introduce skills, and to how you respond to unwanted behaviors, you can completely change the way your puppy learns and behaves. And the best part, you're gonna start to see those changes in just a few short weeks. So here's the question I get all the time. Okay, Michelle, I get it. But how am I supposed to make these changes? What am I supposed to do differently? That's where I come in. I like to think of myself as your dog's interpreter. I help you understand your puppy, their needs, their body language, how they communicate when they're stressed, overwhelmed, tired, or overstimulated. And I can show you how to identify what your puppy's missing, what games are gonna help build the behaviors that you want, and how to create a training plan that fits into your life, not the other way around. And that's exactly what my 30 Days to Puppy Perfection program delivers. Inside the program, you're gonna find 18 step-by-step courses on everything from potty training and crate training to socialization, leash skills, recall, or come, and manners. Over 130 video lessons with real-life demos, so you always know exactly what to do. A 100-page printable workbook filled with checklist charts and resources to keep the whole family on track. Because I know this all may sound overwhelming, you're gonna get unlimited access, so you can revisit any lesson, anytime, even years from now with your next puppy. And because the program's designed to build skills progressively, you're gonna start with fun, foundational games that set you and your puppy up for success. Those early wins make it so much easier to teach the traditional cues like sit and down and stay and come and leave it, which are also included in the program. Now with the roadmap, there's no more second guessing. You're gonna know exactly what to do, when to do it, and most importantly, why certain behaviors are happening. When you understand the why, you can solve problems faster and prevent new ones from popping up. Our students have used this program to calm the biting, barking, and crate crying that used to drive them crazy. They turned the chaotic walks into calm, enjoyable outings. They earn compliments from vets and groomers about how well behaved their pups are. And they've even certified their dogs as therapy or service animals simply by building on the skills they learned in the program. Now the program has worked for every breed, every size, and every personality of dog, because it's built on a proven positive training plan that focuses on creating trust and clear communication. And unlike group classes where you forget everything the minute you walk out the door, or private sessions that cost $150 or more an hour, you'll always have access to this program. Many students have come back to use it again for their second and even third puppy because it just works. So here's what I want you to picture. Imagine a few weeks from now, your puppy's calmer, happier, and actually listening. Potty training feels easier. crate time is peaceful, and you finally feel like you and your puppy are a team. That's the power of having a clear plan. That transformation starts the moment you begin with the plan. All right, so if you are ready to stop guessing, stop Googling, and start with confidence, I'd love to help you and your puppy write your success story. When you're ready to stop guessing and start seeing real results, you'll find everything you need inside our 30 Days to Puppy Perfection program. Your puppy only gets one first year. Make it the year that trains the dog of your dreams. And let's get started training the dream dog you imagined even before they came home. You can find the link to enroll below this video in the description section. See you inside the program.